You got it! Let's go, Nadine! 3, 2, 1! Woo!
There are two questions I often get asked about solo traveling. Don't you get bored and don't you get lonely? The answer to the first one is no, I don't get bored because I'm not a boring person. Okay, that was a cocky answer and not 100% honest. I do get what I call impatiently bored. For example, when I'm stuck at an airport waiting for a massively delayed flight, or at a train station waiting for a massively delayed train, or at a bus station waiting for a massively delayed bus. Isn't the actual travel part of traveling so much fun sometimes? Of course, I can easily distract myself. After all, I have a chaotic brain with too many thoughts and carry a rectangle with too many features with me wherever I go. But distraction usually doesn't take away the impatience, and in my experience, these frustrating situations are even more annoying without good company. But I never get bored in terms of not knowing what to do on my own in general. I can't even remember being bored during lockdown. Granted, I wasn't living on my own, but I was the only person in my household without a steady job, so I had a lot of free time alone at hand. To the second question, don't you get lonely? I have to say, not never, but not often. At its core, solo traveling is essentially just an extension of going on a walk on your own, getting a coffee on your own, eating dinner on your own. If you're not used to doing any of that, I understand that the idea of spending days, weeks, or maybe even months without seeing a familiar face must be daunting. Traveling alone can also feel really nostalgic, especially when visiting a place where you've been with other people before. And admittedly, when eating out during my first few days of a longer solo trip, I often feel my solitude on a higher level. But solitude does not equal loneliness. Those two can coexist, and yes, I sometimes feel lonely for a brief moment in these situations, but mostly I'm just hyper aware of myself and my surroundings. I've been living alone for a while now and spend a big chunk of my leisure time by myself, yet this level of hyper awareness is one that I only reach from experiencing life on my own outside my usual environment. When people say with conviction that I could never travel solo because they fear they'd feel lonely, I believe what they really fear is not the absence of constant company, but being with themselves. That's fine, of course. No one needs to prove to anyone how capable they are of enjoying their own company. However, I'd still recommend to everyone who's physically and mentally able to give solo traveling a shot at least once, even if it's just for an extended weekend. A question that sadly no one ever asks me that I still want to answer is, what exactly do you like so much about solo traveling? Well, I love the independence, the freedom of not having to put anyone else into the equation for the time of my trip, at least if I don't want to. The spontaneity, to make plans for the next day, then change my mind, then change my mind again, to structure my days around how I feel at each moment. If I had a more active day planned out but didn't sleep well, I'll take it slow. If I wake up energized 2 hours earlier than I expected, I take advantage of it and start my day earlier. I don't inconvenience anyone, and no one inconveniences me. Of course, that's not how I live my life on a day-to-day basis. If I did, I wouldn't be able to sustain any interpersonal relationships and probably wouldn't have a job either. I also want to emphasize that traveling alone doesn't necessarily mean social isolation. If you want to spend time with and get to know other people, I'd argue it's actually easier to do so when traveling on your own because you look more approachable when not accompanied by a friend, partner, or family member. Sure, some destinations and accommodations make connections much easier than others, but again, you can choose them. If you don't want to be alone, even if just for a day, you don't have to be. I've been on solo trips where I rarely spent more than 2 waking hours at a time on my own. I've also been on solo trips where my social interactions didn't go beyond small talk with waiters at restaurants. One isn't inherently better than the other. Sometimes I want to keep to myself, but I meet someone I click with. Other times, I go on a trip with the intention to socialize, only to realize that my social batteries are empty. In the end, I want to clarify that I don't prefer solo traveling over traveling with people per se. Both are valuable, yet totally different experiences. It also happened to me more than once that a friend joined me for at least some part of a trip I'd initially booked for myself. And if I had to choose between traveling alone versus traveling with people for the rest of my life, I choose the latter. Still, I'm glad that I don't have to make that decision and get to experience the whole spectrum. Also, I'm convinced that I wouldn't know myself as deeply as I do if little 18-year-old me didn't go on that first solo trip in 2015 that was followed by many, many more in the past 10 years. I'm proud of my independence, and it feels liberating to be so comfortable on my own that I don't wait for anyone to join me on the trips I'd like to take. Because, as Donna Sheridan said it so well, life is short, The world is wide. I want to make some memories.